right, friends, we are back for another amazing episode of A Kish Goodnight. I'm Kashana Palmer. You're hanging with your girl, Kish. And listen, y'all, we have been talking for the last few episodes about expectations and communication and choices and generational differences. And if you haven't seen those episodes, click the button right there. Go back right now. Press pause on this and go watch that first, because then all of this stuff is going to knit together. I promise you're going to finish all your popcorn and all your drinks. So we talk about what it means to like live a life when you're a woman of a certain age, dating and in marriage, relationships, life, your health. And today I asked my good friend, listen, y'all know I'm an entrepreneur, and if you don't, check my receipts. And you cannot have a successful business and still be a whole human if you do not have good girlfriends who also understand that walk. And so this is one of my best besties. Okay, so listen, I have Danette Waite in the house.
Hello.
Fellow Queens girl. And so we are going to chit chat, I think, about like this whole like, we were talking the other day and you had made this comment about, it was a question I think really that you said, does it only have to be one way? And we were talking about that in context of, you know, the expectations and the roles that we have been socialized to play as women when it comes to love, dating, relationships, marriage, the babies, you name it. And you threw it out there. Does it really have to just be one way? And I want to talk about that because I feel like that's the thing that we talk about it in hushed tones. We do. Give each other the eye.
You put me out there.
Oh my gosh. But I'm curious about this because as I think about, you know I'm dating now, you know, you help me with the stuff.
Yes.
Lord.
Yes.
Is there someone for me out there? Anyway, as I think about like what I want for this next stage of my life, I have a lot of curiosities about whether I want to remarry, right? I was married once before. My daughter is about to go off to college. I'm about to live this whole life. No, I will not be hoeing y'all. Cause everybody's like, oh, she about to be in the street treat. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? Now my mama's like, you better not be hoeing. But I'm wondering, like, am I at a place where one person is who I want to wake up to every single day? I haven't met the man yet. Like, I've met people that I'm like, you know, you're all right. But I haven't met anybody who I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? Lock it down. So it begs the question for me, what is the one way? What is the way? Is there one way? So I'm curious about that because I'm living here right now. So I need advice. And I know that other women are too. They just don't want to talk about it. So you're going to talk about me and hit me to what I should be thinking about.
When you think about one way of doing things, I think we think about what society wants us to believe is the one way of doing things.
Yep.
You know, we are supposed to grow up, go to college, get married, have babies, and live happily ever after, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's the job.
If that's the job. That's what we were put here to do.
That's right.
What if it doesn't work out that way?
It didn't work out for me that way.
What if it doesn't work out that way? You know, I had the baby before the marriage, and then and then got married to someone else after years of wanting to be with this person who, you know, was the father of my child, because that's what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to be with the person who fathered our child. Like, who else would we want to be with?
That's right.
And so I wasted a lot of years trying to do that thing, even though he didn't want to do that thing. And thank God, because ladies and gentlemen, but they say rejection is God protection.
Hello.
Oh, thank God that man didn't want me.
Because the stress.
I think about it every day after. And my daughter is very glad he didn't want me. Thank you, Jesus. But what if it doesn't work out that way? You know, what if you kind of flip it, right? And then what happens when you do find the person, right? The person that you are in love with and love, because those are two different things.
Wait, pause, hold on. Because I'm not really sure. And mind you guys are telling me this, I'm not really sure I've actually been in love. I have loved, but have I actually been in love? Like, so break down the difference to me, because I know my mother's going to say something. So break down the difference of...
In love to me is really a primal feeling. Like, it is the butterflies in the stomach. Yes. It's the irrational. Yes. It's the I will do anything for this feeling. Sorry, can we curse this?
Yeah,
YouTube,
he's
right?
just going... It's
It's the I will do anything, anywhere, anytime, any place.
Come on.
Right? for this man.
You gonna have that
right?
Janet Jackson
I
moment.
want to have
Ooh.
these babies with this man. Like, that's that in love primal, like, I just want to be with him. I don't care what the obstacle is. I don't care what he doing. I don't care what he not doing. If he cheated, I'm gonna still be with him. I'm rocking with him because, like, I just want to be with this man. That's in love. That in love is pretty irrational. In love gets chicks put in jail.
That's right.
Okay? In love, right? Love is intentional. Love is a choice that you make every single day of your life to love this, because not everybody ain't lovable all the time.
Hello? Tell the people.
Including yourself, even though we may not think I'm pretty lovable. But
But they are days.
But maybe there's somebody else. I'm pretty lovable.
Right.
But we're gonna go with that. But it's an intentional, I want to be with it. Love is action.
Yes.
Right? It's a verb.
It's a verb.
Right? It is what you do every single day to be with that person. Like, you just want to make this person's life joyful. Like, if he's having a bad day, what can you do to make it better?
That's right.
If he likes to come home to dinner, well, dinner is made, and whatever it is, like, you are there. Like, it's like leadership. Leadership is being a servant.
That's right.
It is being a servant to the person who is the object of your affection, but also who deserves the object of that.
The deserving part.
The deserving part, and that's where we get it mixed up, right?
We do.
So that's the difference. One is really primal, and you don't think about it. The other one is very intentional. Yeah.
And it's so interesting. Okay, so you talked about, like, who deserves it. So I'm going to the tape before we go on, because I'm going to the tape.
All right.
On the tape, I was talking to a gentleman, a good, fine, educated, working man. And he asked me, maybe, I don't know, 4 questions in, about my thoughts on submission. And this is not a topic that, you already laughing? We had not really had much conversation, right? We hadn't had that much conversation. And so I was curious as to why he asked the following question. First, he complimented me. He said that he can sense that I'm a good person from my message, how I sent it, and that I'm a beautiful, strong woman. I appreciate it. That's a feedback sandwich. I was waiting for it. So what was the middle that he was going to drop? Then he says, he said the question, do you think you could be submissive to a man? If yes, how so? If no, why not? And I was like, we haven't talked on the phone yet, and this gentleman is asking me about submission. I wanted to run for the hills. Okay, so let's go back to a choice. So when you're with someone who you have partnered with, committed your life to, married, all of the different, spectrum that folks have, where's the point that you have enough respect for that person to operate in the question that this gentleman asked? What is the question that he really should be asking? Not now, though. It's too early.
I don't think he should be asking a question at all, first of all.
So it's a weird question.
I think submission to different people means different things.
That's right.
So culturally, I'm first generation born in this country. My family's from Jamaica. And, when you're a young girl or a child in general, you watch the dynamics of men and women in your family.
That's right.
You watch to see what mom does, what dad does. And even if you don't think you're watching, you're just, you're absorbing
you're taking it all in.
It's all osmosis. You're just taking it all in.
Yeah.
And, when I was growing up, I watched my mother make my father's plate and take it to him.
Yep.
I saw these things. It wasn't something that was talked about. It wasn't something that, she said, I'm going to submit to him. It wasn't that. And so in my mind, and my mother also, when I had my daughter, one of the things she said to me is, I wasn't going to get, because I was mad because we wasn't getting along. And I was like, I'm going to give her my last name. And she was like, no, you're not. Because, we know that child belongs to you. However, that child deserves to have her father's name so that, she can be a part of his family. And that is also a part of, submission to, I think, a person. So, like, when I think about submission, again, I would never submit to someone who asked me about it.
The point that you ask about it.
Right. I think that is very presumptuous. I think that is someone who you probably wouldn't want to be with. Now, will I say I do submit to my husband? Now, what that means to me is that, he is the man of the household. Now, yes, he does cook for me. I cook for him. We submit to each other. However, when I'm thinking about things that I'm going to do, I talk with him and I say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? Now, does it mean that if this say no,
that you're
I'm
gonna be like,
oh, well, we're not doing it then. I might have to think of another way to convince him, right? Because what they said, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck. You know what I mean?
You're like, I'm gonna come back around.
But I'm not, like, or even with our son, we share a son together. He's 7 years old, and I would never do anything with our son that he did not approve of. I don't care if I approve of it. I would never do that. So it's really about thinking about that person and saying, I respect this person, and so I am going to submit to him just the way that he submits to me. Now, my husband, in every sense of the word, has always taken care of me in every way, financially included. He has always taken, and I was always taught by my mother that, a man is supposed to take care of you. And they're supposed to protect you, to take care of you, and to love you. And that was something that I always took with me. And I always knew that if those three things weren't present, I couldn't be with a man. I just knew that. And I didn't have to ask him when I met him, and I met him online. Guys.
Lord.
I didn't have to ask him, right, if he was going to take care of me.
That's right.
I just had to observe.
That's right.
Right? Also, on our first date, it was so funny. At the time, I think my daughter might have been like 15, and before I actually went out on a date with him, he came to my home, not in my house, but like he drove to my home. Absolutely. And I went to the car. My mother would cringe, but she don't think, we don't get in man car.
We don't get no man car.
We don't get no man car, right? But I went and got in the car, and we sat outside of my house, and we talked for a while. And then at one point I said, okay, I'm going to go now. I'm going to go. And he didn't make a move to get out the car and go open the door.
Oh, I would have just sat there. What did you do?
And so that's what I did. So and I had just read, Steve Harvey book.
Oh, I gotta think like a man.
Oh, so I was like,
people hate on that book, though, but
it is the Bible.
Steve is telling you something.
That book and Why Men Love Bitches. That's another episode.
So
okay.
I'm always talking about that.
I share that book with my daughter. But anyway,
I was like, no.
That is the Bible. Okay. Well, that's not the Bible, but like the Bible. And so I literally sat there and kept talking to him. And finally he said to me, well, you said you had to go. Yeah. And I said, well, but you didn't get up and go open the door for me, so I figured you didn't want me to leave. And he was like, oh. And he got up, got out the car, came around, opened it. And in my mind, I said, if I touch this doorknob right now.
That's right.
I'm going to be opening the door for the rest of my life.
That's right.
And I need him to know that I have a certain expectation for how he treats me, how he approaches me. I am not every woman that he's met. I'm me. And you're going to treat me in a certain way.
Right.
Now, do I wait for him to open the door now, 12 years? No, he's slow. I'm not waiting for you to open the door. Like, I just don't want to wait no more. I know you're going to do it. I don't want to wait, right? I'm going to get out the car and I'm going to go, right? Yeah, it's a special occasion. I might be like, baby, I'm going to wait for you to come around here, open the door. Right. But I know he'll do it, right? I know there's something that he knows that I deserve.
Right.
And so I don't have to be like, I'm just going to wait.
Right.
Because I don't feel like it, right?
But he's adopted that posture in other aspects of your life. So I think that like something like opening the door is emblematic of the other areas in your life where he's like, oh, I got it.
He comes to my preschool. We own a preschool together. He comes to the preschool in the evening, gets the garbage, takes it to wherever he got it. I don't know where it goes. Wherever it goes to the garbage place. He comes. If I need a light fix, I call him. Come, hey babe, this is. Take a picture of it. He comes.
This is back to the purpose that
he got a purpose. We're Jamaican. The man got to have a purpose. He got to do something. And if you don't know how to do it, do you know who to pay for it? Do you know who to pay for it?
Right. They like to figure it out.
Do you know? Not do I know. Do you know? Can you take care of it? And he makes my life easier.
Woo!
He makes my life easier.
And I think there's such an interesting thing in that, because we were talking about like in love versus loving and leading into that, like, is there another way to set up your life? And I think that what that brings to mind for me is that like, you've got to be really clear on your values and how your values could look in action. Because I think that if you can get aligned on values, then the rest of the stuff is for you. Right. And it doesn't have to look like anybody else's stuff.
Nope.
Because I imagine that with your hubby, like, there's lots of things he does really well, and there's some things you're like, oh my gosh.
Just want to wring his neck.
And I wonder about like how do we get to that point of like long? Oh, Chanel
All
decided
right.
she's
She
going.
said it's too much. Not
said
enough
it's too
space
much.
because my leg is
She
right
said, "But
here.
my leg, though."
And it's okay. All right. Hey,
How do
Chanel.
we get to a place where we're able to navigate when we have needs, because we're getting older, when we have needs that our partner doesn't meet in the same way that they used to?
Well.
So if it doesn't have to be one way, then how do we navigate the other ways? And I'm curious about what y'all think about that too, because Mom, you're, again, stepping forward into a new era of your life. Feel like you're experiencing something new. Same for you, Ashra. Like we're all sort of like peeking forward to look at something different. So how do you think about it when you're like, oh my gosh, do you reset yourself? Do you try to find a different way to be able to have those needs met? Do you just say, oh, well, this is what it is? Oh, wait a minute.
You remind him.
Absolutely.
Oh.
That's all you do. Remind him, honey, you used to do so and so.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to reset yourself
Mm-hmm.
and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds so much better when you say it, Mom.
It does.
Because when I say it, honey, let's try this, y'all.
I don't think you say honey. I don't think you start.
I don't
like
start
that.
with honey.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Tone don't sound like that.
No, my tone, that's the
Yeah.
beginning.
It's soft.
Yeah.
So once it's soft,
Oh,
he gets the message right away.
Yes.
you feel so?
Oh, I missed. She likes when I do.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go back to it because that is what makes her tick, or that is what makes her happy.
As opposed to I am wrong, I've been convicted,
Yeah.
I am being pointed out how I failed.
Mm-hmm.
There is,
You
although
have
the
to
point
reset.
is the same, there is a aspect of delivery that makes sense to me.
I feel like my delivery situation is not quite right.
What delivery?
Because I can hear myself saying, like, I need you to reset yourself. And it
won't sound that way. It won't sound that way.
Listen, I really, really enjoyed when you used to, give me an example, Ma.
Yeah, and the best time to have that conversation
After
is
sex?
when
Oh, no.
not after
No,
sex.
not after sex?
No, when you're laying
Okay.
down.
After sex?
No. No, after sex.
What else would you be laying down?
After sex. You're already burnt out.
Wait a minute.
No.
I'm going to say
Wait a
Who's
minute.
burnt out?
that was really good. But you're missing a little.
Wait, you gonna be
Different conversation. Hold on.
Wait a minute. We
I
have
need
a
a drink.
I need a drink. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay. So you're saying.
Okay.
Why are you laughing?
I said we laying down and we didn't have sex.
Yeah. Oh.
No, wait.
You had
Are you
sex
coming back now?
Come on back.
Okay.
Or you
Maybe
didn't have
it's the
sex
morning.
yet.
Maybe it's the morning. You talk about the morning to after sex.
Again,
Boy, you're into the sex.
I was about to say, are we missing?
Because what else is happening in the morning if you're not getting ready for work?
When is the cuddle? When is the
When is the cuddle?
maybe it's
After
on-
sex.
Maybe it's
Cuddle.
and especially for Kashana who can barely friends.
Oh.
She can barely get through a movie.
Oh.
She gets up, she does all the business,
Okay.
she does
Fall
all
asleep.
falls asleep, does all the chores, checks the social medias. Maybe it's while you're on the couch watching a show.
Okay.
Like when I think Ms. Dawn is trying to say in a relaxed moment where
That's
it's not connected to the thing.
Okay.
I do think that it's hard to avoid a scold when it's like, here's the thing that happened that did or did not happen, and I am telling you what did or did not happen.
Right.
I think that's slightly different than, I was thinking, babe, as I pulled the trash this morning.
Rub
you
his
used
head.
Wait a minute.
You used to hook me up a little bit with the trash thing. What happened? And let him tell you, like, we got to put it out, and I've been so tired. I miss that, babe.
Rub his head,
Boss.
rub his cheek.
Rub, I miss that,
You know?
babe. There's
But what better
there's
time than
another-
after sex?
there's
I just
another-
feel like after sex
I
is
just
where.
feel like after sex is where it needs to be.
No, but if you use that line
Mm-hmm.
Notice the
Before.
verb, use.
the
and
sex,
then put it on them.
before the sex is going to be good.
Oh.
After, because you were able to have a conversation
Yeah, she's.
about something,
Yeah,
and he responded in
Yeah.
a positive way.
yeah.
So hey, everything is going to be good. Yeah, we're on the same page.
So I'm married to a Gemini. I feel like his response
Like,
is going to be
50-50
much
as to whether it's going like
better
that or not.
after the thing.
As a Gemini, I would
After
like
the
to co-sign that after the thing.
Like we have our most meaningful
Might be-
conversations like after, because we lay for a little bit. Sorry, Hubs. We lay for a little bit, and that's when he will usually, because even I'm a Virgo, and I think I communicate well, and I do with everyone else except the person that I love. Because I think they should know.
They should know you. They should you should know what I'm thinking. You're here every day.
And if I got to talk to you about it, then I'm mad. He's now the talker. So like usually it's after we've connected, because for us it's a connection, right?
And the connection stimulates the conversation.
There you go. Like after we're both done and we are chilling and we're usually just laying.
Yeah.
Then it opens up the floor for us to just talk, and we're usually talking in kind of the real estate that we could possibly. There's no, like, we're just talking.
Yeah.
It's just like how are you doing? Like, what's happening with you? Are you okay? And that's when I really feel like I'm able to say, well, babe, I've been thinking about this. Here's how I've been feeling. Tell me how you've been feeling. And I try to, if I am feeling a way about something, I try to not, like what you said, talk about it in the moment.
Yeah.
I will usually wait, and not because I want to hold it over him, but just because I know I want to compose myself. And I think it's really important. You hear a lot of men, black men in particular, talking about, oh, I don't want to, black women are angry, or I don't want to talk about, because, that's why I want to go with the other, because black women, it's like, well, no, it's not that. It's just that we are passionate about what we're talking about. And I also think that if we take a minute to think, men or women, about what we want to say and separate what happened from our feelings and just have a little bit in between, then nobody's angry anymore. A day or two has passed by, or a week,
right,
depending on how mad you were. Then you can really have a conversation that's not emotional, and you'll get a better response, I think, instead of talking in that moment. So usually sex is how we make up. So.
I just have a hard, I think that's right. Like, intellectually, I understand that. I think emotionally it's very hard for me because I'm a verbal processor. And so things are happening in real time, and I am processing in real time. So I want to say the thing in real time, even though I would probably go and sit with it too, and want to come back to the conversation. But I always find that, like, if I decide to sit on something, by the time I say something, then I'm really aggy. And so then I'm just like, I have revved myself up in a way that if I had said something right at the beginning, that I would, I was going to say it would have been better, but you said not good.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting to hear Ms. Dawn say it wouldn't have been good to say in real time, because I have experienced you and your family, all of you, your brother Anthony, you, Ms. Dawn, as a little bit of a narration of displeasure. It's like, a little bit of like, why didn't you pick this up? Or I don't understand why this is happening. I can't believe I'm pulling this trash. I know that I told you to water these plants. And I have seen Mr. B, your husband, God rest his peace, God rest his soul in peace, that he's like used to it, right? He knows there's a narration, and he knows you will elevate when it's a big thing. Other than that, he's like floating above and he's listening. I think that is really like cultural.
Listening skill.
It's a skill.
Is it a skill? It's a cultural skill.
It's a skill that is gained by culture, right?
Yeah.
That's probably how your mom was, and that's probably what was modeled for you. And the African American culture, when it is so influenced by the broader American culture, says every single word matters. If you step wrong one time, that means all the things.
Yes.
Whereas I think in Pan African culture, it's like there's a million words. I'm gonna let you know the one you need to like focus on. The realness versus like, I'm gonna tell you in real time.
Yeah.
That was annoying when you picked your teeth at the table.
Correct.
And he's like,
drop your dentures down.
Oh my God! Not drop your dentures.
I cannot.
Chanel, don't drop your dentures. Not drop your dentures down.
And
Oh
that
my
happens,
God!
and it's on to the next, because there's a comment before and a comment after, and you'll let me know when it's real.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's something that's powerful in understanding who you're with, right?
Yeah.
Are they gonna narrate their displeasure a little bit, and you just gotta ride the river, and they'll let you know when it's serious? Or I'm gonna pause, I'm gonna wait, which is how I am. 72-hour rule. Sleep on 24 hours. If I need to say it, I have to say it within 2 days, 3 days total. If that means you might be getting something on day 3, if I'm bringing it to you on day 3, you best believe it's a real thing, because I didn't narrate it
in real time.
In real time. So it's a thing about, back to Ms. Dawn on the last episodes. If you didn't watch the last episode,
run it back.
Ms. Dawn said, like, it's very much about communication and getting to understand one another. And so my question to you share with us, you're first generation Jamaican. What is your husband? What was that negotiation? How similar, or how?
Yeah, that's a good question.
regardless of affinity, like and identity, like what was that negotiation to understand like what the cultural match was?
We didn't have to do much. He actually was born in Jamaica. So he's been here since he was 3. So he is Americanized. But again, raised by his mother and his grandmother. And I was also raised in a household with, my mother and father on one floor and grandma on the other floor and uncle in the basement. So I was raised immersed in Jamaican culture. Like I said, I didn't know.
Right, I was like, what?
American until I went to high school. It's like, wait, I'm American?
See,
like,
I'll tell you, I am not the only one who's had this experience.
No.
Y'all.
Shauna, why are you less successful in dating West Indian men?
I'm afraid.
Talk about it.
So your husband is Jamaican.
Yes.
So I had early life experiences that just put me on edge around men from my own culture. And so I'm sure there's like some trauma there, but mostly I'm always afraid. Like I like physically recoil, not because folks are ugly. I think it's just a recounting of just stuff that happened as a kid that I still live with. But outside of that, I think it's because there's a safety in knowing how most of those types of men are going to move, right? I don't care if you're from Jamaica, Barbados, St. Croix, St. Kitts, Grenada, whatever. West Indian men who are still West Indian in their core, right? Because being Americanized and having some edges are not the same. Like my child is a second generation, and so she's pretty Americanized with. She got a pretty deep periphery though.
Beautiful butter crust.
Yeah, and because her friends are West Indian and many of them are first gen, that's why her buttercrust edge is pretty deep, right? But what I find is that I struggle where the things that I know and understand are things I do not like. So I know how they're gonna move. I know what the expectations are. I know I don't want to plan stuff. Just here's the money. There's not been one West Indian man that I have ever dated, and I've dated several since I got divorced. They will do whatever I need them to be done. I had one every week who'll come and he would put money on the table. He would go take my car and gas it for me and bring it back. He'd make sure that I had groceries. I didn't ask him to do none of that, but I was starting my business and he was like, oh, sure. I never had to ask a word. Let me tell you what I also didn't do. Wait for him to plan anything.
Hello.
Because there was no planning that was going to occur. And Ma, you talked about that in a previous episode where you said you spent your entire life planning everything and you would like to have the experience for somebody to plan something for you. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I want to say that I started to realize like, oh, I actually do want somebody who's going to plan things for me, who's not just like, take the money and go. Where we're going. Just buy whatever you want. Like, you would think that there's like, oh, I got this great. I can live the life I want to live, but can you though? And so I think that part has been a struggle. The things that on the one hand give me comfort, on the other hand make me want to run for the hills. Like I know how to cook. My mother has taught me how to do all of the things that are cultural to me. And yet if my mother has not, sometimes we wouldn't eat, y'all, if my mother didn't live down the street. I just want y'all to know, me and the Queen Asia would definitely be on some ramen noodles. Not because I can't cook, but because, Lord.
You're busy. We're busy. Our lives are different than women's lives may have been 20 years ago. Yes, you were still busy working, but when you own a business and you only eat what you kill.
That's right.
Then the household stuff is secondary or tertiary.
I knew
it is not, and we talked about in the first episode about men outsourcing. I outsource everything
you can.
Everything I can outsource, from the cooking. I haven't cooked a Thanksgiving meal ever. I have a chef prepare it, and my husband is glad for it. He just want to eat.
He don't care
how. He just want to eat. Okay, and I'm grateful. He just want to eat. He brings home the food. He cooks, but guess what? I'm at that business 14 hours a day.
Yes,
Do you understand? Like, the times are different. When you are an entrepreneur and you are in these dating streets or even if you're married, the expectations are different.
Yeah.
I want to clean my house, but guess what? When I leave here, I got to go pick up my son, and guess where we're going? To the daycare for the next 2 months. I'm in the weeds, but I'm in the weeds with goals.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm going to the south of France in May.
Yes, I'm so excited.
So I got goals. So it's different. Like my grandmother, God rest her soul, I love my Frenchie is what I called her. She passed away in 2011. And when my daughter was growing, when she was 3 years old, and we lived on Hemlock in East New York. I'm not a Queens girl. I'm actually a Brooklyn girl.
I won't hold it against you.
I'm a Brooklyn girl. And
you live in Queens?
I do live in Queens.
All right.
For the last 5 years.
Oh, that's all?
That is.
God, I feel such a kinship.
I know, but it's okay. I still love you though.
I still love you.
Okay.
I won't break up.
No.
Okay.
So she would cook. You know, my daughter loved oxtail rice and peas, all things West Indian, Jamaican, and she would make for us on Sunday. She would make several meals
For the whole week.
and for the whole week, and she would put it in a little Tupperware,
containers.
and I put it in the freezer, and then every day my daughter had a meal. Cause even then I was a teacher. I was busy. You know, when you're out of the home,
Yes.
it's not like it was, I won't even say 30 years ago, maybe 50 years ago, maybe longer, where women were just in the home and didn't have any other function, and men were providers. And then when you talk about bringing it back to submission,
Yes.
when you talk about men providing and doing all the things and wanting to come home and see dinner's on the table and the house is clean and the kids are bathed and they're in bed and she got on her negligee and she ready to dick him down, or not really dick him down, that's the wrong word, but when she's ready to do all the things,
Come on.
well shoot, all she had to do, and not that it's not a lot, because running that household and running the family, let me tell you,
That is a business.
that is a whole, you a
business
CEO,
of family is a
you
business.
the
You're
COO,
unemployed.
you the everything, okay? That was a job in and of itself.
itself.
And now, you know, men expect you to
Contribute
to
50.
contribute 50-50. I don't even say, let me
I
tell you
don't know what that
something.
is. I
For
don't
the
know what that
longest time, I wasn't looking at anybody's husband, so I'm just gonna, but I'm gonna say this because it's good for the show, okay? But I wasn't looking for nobody. I was in these disclaimer. I was in these singles groups because it was just research for me.
Yeah. I've been in a lot of groups for research.
And I'm listening. I'm looking at these posts like, oh, who should pay? What do you mean who should pay?
Right.
That's a question.
That is, and
What do you mean that's a question?
And that's
I
something that
rebuke
household
that.
I used to always get into. For I'm like, I'm sorry, are we asking a question about who should pay?
That's a question.
That's not a question. I don't actually get that question.
But these younger generations, they would ask, and again, it's a larger conversation. It is fathers not being in the homes and children not seeing fathers present and take care of their mothers, and women being, you know, having to do all the things and working hard, and young boys watching their mothers do all the things
So they
and be
expect
superwoman.
all the
So they
women.
want you to be super. I do not want to be superwoman. I want to be soft and pink. Okay,
That's right.
That is what I am. I want to be taken care of in every sense of the word. I don't care what I make. I want to be taken care of. And it doesn't mean that I don't take care of my husband. I take care of him in different ways. In different ways. And you cannot expect the same things when a man would say to you, are you submissive? Are you kidding me? Why would you ask a question like that?
I tried to get at like why did you ask? And he was just like, oh, it's just a discussion, because I find that a lot of women who are like boss women, no, he said alpha women, have a hard time with allowing a man to lead. And I was like, I don't have a hard time following a man, but a man needs to have a plan.
And you got to be smart.
And
I can't be smarter than
I have
you.
to respect you. I was like, you're conflating some things together. And I was like, anything else feels like it's manipulative, right? And so, but also, why are we having this conversation this early? I am confused. And so, Mom, you were going to say something?
Yeah, you know.
You found something?
She got her
use
notes.
The word
Y'all,
submission.
Mama Dawn got notes.
What does it mean to submit to someone?
She looked it up on the internet.
And to submit to someone is to yield
Woo!
oneself to listen to this word, the authority or will of another. All right? So you have to surrender, and you have to permit oneself to be subjected to something. So
That's to be earned.
That's to be
friend.
earned,
Hello.
friends.
That's
That's to be
That's not a
earned, friends.
conversation two, friend. That's not a conversation two, question, friend.
And to be clear, you have to submit to one another, right? Which means
Yes,
that means that
because
I
it
have to
says-
earn it too.
yes, so listen to this. It says, how do you completely submit to a man?
Oh, this is a question on the internet? Like a
Yeah.
Google question? Wait a minute, y'all.
Let him take the lead.
Let,
Allow.
allow, permit.
Permit.
That means
Ask
I got a
him
choice.
for his opinion.
And guidance.
Think
and leadership.
of his needs. So where are your needs? Try not to criticize him or speak negatively of him.
Oh.
From the man over.
This is from the
Talk to
Manaverse.
him
She found the
about
Manaverse.
the changes in your marriage.
Oh.
And don't accept abusive behavior.
Oh, okay. I like
So
that. Round
you
it up.
see that they're referring to him rather than her.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Try not to criticize him or speak negatively of him. So that's what he probably is asking, you know.
That's the question.
He's
behind
saying,
the question.
talk to me nice.
He's saying, do I get to feel safe?
Oh.
I don't know if he was saying that.
But
Think
I-
so?
But isn't he like?
That's such an
Farilla,
interesting question.
Farilla,
Farilla.
Don't we all want to feel safe when they say protect my peace? When they say this and that, aren't they actually saying like, as a black man, I am in these streets unsafe. The police are ready to kill me.
Okay.
I can't get the loan. I can't get the job. I'm labeled as a bad or errant or missing father. Like, it's a hard road. When I get home, do I get to feel safe? We are saying, we as black women are at risk. I'm in education.
Yep.
And to be a black woman in education is to be the most disposable.
Hello.
Because there are a million of us right
And
behind
you know that.
us. There's
Hello.
100,000 of us, you know.
Yeah.
And so we are always at risk. We're always at risk. We're always disposable. We're always interchangeable. So we feel type of ways. Great. So I'm seeking safety from you. Damn, but you want safety from me. And so we are giving each other signals that are approximating safety. And I don't know if we always read the signals. Ms. Dawn, in the episode that you just downloaded because you understood you needed it.
Hello.
Ms. Dawn talked about red, yellow, green. And making sure that we're understanding signals, you know, and I'm not sure if we're like picking up what each of the other is putting down related to the safety, because it's just a proxy. When you ask that, can you submit to a man? You're maybe one thing he's trying to find out is, can I be heard?
That's what it said.
That's what you feel like. So you,
Can I be heard?
do you feel like if a man asks? First of all, I agree with you. Nobody should be asking me. See your face. That's how I feel. But you know, but nobody should be asking that question that early. But I guess that question to if you take that posture, which to me goes back to what we were talking about in a previous conversation about allowing another bite at the apple, not making that cut the first time. So if I take that approach, which essentially means giving that brother grace. Right, that maybe he don't know how to use his words. Maybe he, you know, there's another example that might illuminate the same thing. Then the question that he's really asking is, can I be heard? Will you listen to me is how it probably comes out, but can I be heard is really the question. And do I feel safe? For some folks, for other folks,
Correct. I would never say that it's no monolith.
No. Okay. This is not. You're like, I don't know.
You know, because again, my disclaimer is I'm a Virgo.
Yes.
So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be that because I mean, he's a person. I mean, like sometimes we tend to think of men, and we don't do it purposefully. Is like that's a man, but he's a person, right? He's a person with real feelings and thoughts and you know experiences that he's coming to the table with, and maybe that question was he was looking to see if you know you were someone who he could feel safe with. That isn't my normal go-to. You know, my normal go-to would be, really, what?
Like,
I wouldn't even answer him back. I would just probably block him. Like, I would just probably block him. You know, maybe if I was 20, I would answer him.
I don't know. I answered because I was curious. Because I was like, where are we going to go with the question?
That word submissive can be used
as an abuse term. Like,
abuse. When I think also of the word submissive, my mind flashes right in the bedroom.
Right.
Okay. And submission in the bedroom can be a dangerous thing.
Yeah. Something can be
free,
a different word. It just depends.
It's still a safety word though. This is a good correlation. So I made this comment about this message in passing to one of my girlfriends who happens to be white. And her first reaction was, he's talking to you about BDSM already? It didn't even occur to her that it was about respect or leadership or control. Like
that didn't occur to me.
That didn't occur to me at all.
What she said
didn't occur to me. Exactly right.
Nope.
Isn't that wild?
It's
that was a whole cultural situation. She was like, huh? He's talking to you about BDSM already? And I was like, what now?
It was cultural.
As we talk about why the white institution of marriage has been more enduring, they still get divorced, but the rate is not the same. The white institution of marriage has been more enduring is that lots of stuff is as given. So this is as given, and then this is the stuff they're grappling with. For us and other, I think like intergenerational, intercultural, like interpower, interfinancial dynamics, this is given. And all the rest of it is at risk. And so for her, she like all the other things we've been talking about, take as given. Check. Therefore, submission. BDSM. What y'all talking about?
Right.
Whereas for us, as Ms. Dawn said, submission means many things.
Yep.
Right? It means many other things. Chop, 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 possibility.
Submission.
But for the white ladies, she's like, oh no, that's
She's like, oh no. She's like, oh, that's given.
That's given.
Right.
That still endures in our institution. Now that's bold. Wait, he's talking about BDSM.
I
was
didn't even
like,
think
it
that.
didn't even occur to
Even
me.
when it
No.
sounds to me like submission.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
If he comes off and says, and it depends on how he said it.
Oh, I read it to you.
Sounds
It was a
to me
screenshot.
like he put a collar around your neck.
Hello.
Oh.
Well, that's
Okay?
BDSM.
A collar around your
Right.
neck.
Physical,
metaphysical.
And a whip in his hand.
Oh.
Again,
It sounds abusive.
Could be good.
Yeah.
Sound,
It sounds abusive when you say that word
As
submission.
She said sounds abusive.
It does because when I think about submission and submitting to my husband, I don't necessarily think about it in that word, in that terminology. I think about it as I have respect for my husband. I love my husband. I want to take care of my husband the way he should want to take care of me. And so we take care of each other. And our roles are different. Sometimes they interchange, but they're different, and they're different.
Right.
And so we take care of each other in every sense of the word. And so I don't think about it as being submissive, even though I know what you meant. So it's like, okay, here's how I do submit. I think about it as I'm sharing my life with this person. Like,
That's right.
we're sharing our lives. And so that means that we have to, be there for each other. We have to do for each other. We have to respectfully be respectful of each other. Think about what the other person thinks and what they may want. And you know what? I want to do this, but this may be a problem for him. So am I going to do it?
Right. You're like, am I willing to risk it?
Am I going to risk it all?
That's it. Am I going to risk it all?
What are we going to do? We going
Right.
to hide it?
Like, what are
How
we
we going to
doing?
do this? Like, but it's a
pause?
process, and
I know.
yeah. So I don't think of it as being submissive. I think when I hear that word, it sounds abusive to me.
Yeah.
When you hear men talking about, are you submissive? It sounds like a man who could be abusive. He may not be. He may not have meant it in that way.
Right.
But we've seen enough movies
know.
to know
Yeah, I'm
that
looking at the
that's what
response I
that
gave
sounds like.
Yep.
So did you put that one on the back burner? The submissive
I
one?
haven't. So I said. So I responded to him, right? And I said, submission is so complex. I think I could. It's so interesting, Mom. That's what you said, right? Like I wrote. I'm reading a screenshot. I think submission is so complex. I think I could defer to my partner, provided that he is a leader, a provider, and a protector, not just of our household, but of my heart. I think submission is heavily intertwined with respect. And I also think I would never submit to a man without a plan. He's activated a relationship with the Creator and a person of great integrity. Everything else is a power play and a trap.
Did he respond?
And I said, did I answer your question? No. Lastly, I could submit to a man who understands that he is to love and cherish me and thinks that's both his duty and his pleasure. And then I said, did I answer your...
Be careful of it.
Wait a minute. You see how you...
Okay, now.
So,
NC-17.
look, another episode that needs to get picked up.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, did I answer your question and why do you ask? So he said, well, I asked to see if you understood what submission really is. And I don't want you to think of a man telling you what to do, but as a woman want to lead, the grammar is terrible, y'all. I just want to say, can a PSA for y'all a second? Spell check.
Please.
Grammarly. Voice dictation, and then edit it. Lord. I don't want to think of a man telling you what to do, but as a woman, you should want to lead in her man and follow his words of advice because he's a protector and a provider. And patient with you, the PPP effect. So just want to know how much you understand what submission is. So I asked again, which you never answered, but why is that important to you? And I said, I'm well educated and I know my Bible too, so that's not it. And by the way, PPP is protect, provide, and profess, friend.
Just so we're clear.
I know I cut at that point, right? Then I was like, that is at that point that I was like, we don't go together. Because if I start correcting you that early, like, first you're not gonna get snarky with me and say that the P is for patient with you.
And here's the PSA I slide in.
Slide it in.
I just want to make sure you understand is probably not the best flex.
Because
make sure you understand is different than make sure you agree or make sure we're aligned.
Yeah.
Understand says
He would give you a
I can't
test.
understand. Like you need to make sure that I can
comprehend.
That is different than here's the understanding I have, here's the understanding you have, both are valid, do they align? So when you ask me, do I understand? I probably
see your face.
I probably do.
And I had to, and I literally,
Wrong question.
I deleted a couple times because I was gonna be like, bruh, because that's when we flex out on our degrees. Do you know how many degrees we have?
Hello.
Like, I am an actual professor. Like, are you kidding? So all of the stuff comes up.
You schooled him on your response.
Wait a minute.
First of all.
Because Ms. Dawn was stuck on the power and the largeness of the word and the concept of submission. Like, books need to be devoted to that.
Correct.
We can do a whole
series on submission, on the concept of
submission.
Correct. And it's so interesting, Mom, that you talk about that, because I don't think that Dad or Goldstein's, my stepfather, may he rest in peace, ever said the word in a sentence, something, submission. Something, submit. I don't think your husband
has never. Well, no, would he ever?
But
it's because you would just
be.
Put him in his place right away.
I would look at him just like this. Like, he don't have to. Like, I know.
There's no need to.
I was taught how to be a woman. I watched womanhood. I watched my mother, do her do. I watched that. You don't got to tell me what to do, and how dare you? No, he would never. And he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to.
And I think this, things have shifted in relationships, in love relationships, in dating, in our lives. They just have shifted. And so, when we first started this conversation, I asked the question about really exploring is there one way? And I think that as there are more voices around how men should be, how women should be, how queer folks should be, there starts to be multiple ways. And I think that's why folks are starting to explore things other than the traditional institution of marriage or partnership, because we're starting to get more inputs, more information, more experiences that tell us that some of our socialization wasn't quite right. And it's like a pendulum that's swinging all the way the other way, that we're like, not only do I reject it, but I'm going to reject it all the way over here. And so as you get older and you start to understand your needs and you start to understand the nuances of your need, I'm going to have to side with you on this one. I feel like one person can't do it all. You might make a decision to just be like, well, this is where we are, and so here you go. But I'm not quite sold.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right answer. I don't know. Society is set up in a certain way. I don't know if that, and there's so many alternatives, right?
Right.
And when we see these reality shows about, polyamory and
they
look crazy.
They look crazy.
But
they pick the craziest looking people though. The people who not washing, and the people who hairs look crazy.
But they do.
And it's like the tiniest of tiny.
But in reality, let's think about our friend groups.
Yeah.
Let's think about what we see on TV. Let's think about what we know about in our social circles of people who are married. A lot of marriages are open anyway. Just one partner don't know it's open.
Hello. Wait a minute.
So one person may not be fulfilling his needs because he got 3 of them, right? So, it's not something that we talk about. But what if we did decide to do things a different way? What if we did say as women, you know what? I am a multifaceted person. And I love this person. I love my life with this person. I love how things are set up. I love how he this. I love how he that. I love all of those things. And I have other needs.
And when you refer to other needs, be a little bit more specific.
It could be conversation. It could be, think about why, and I'm only speaking from a woman's perspective because I'm a woman. So think about why people cheat. Right, when they're in a quote-unquote monogamous relationship. Think about when they meet someone new. They've been in a relationship with you or whoever for a long term. There's a certain, there you go. When you meet someone, those pheromones are going, and you get those butterflies. That shit is
That's the primal stuff that she talked about.
That is oh my God, oh my God, I can't wait to talk to him. I want to talk about all the things. He doesn't know you. Yeah. You don't know him.
But everything is new and fresh.
Everything is new. You don't got to talk to him about the raising of the children.
That
about the finances. And about the this and the that. Why do you think side chicks appeal to men so much, right? Why do you think that they're there? They're there because they don't have to deal with the reality, the business of family, right? Side chicks have a whole function in life, and sometimes they be winning.
Okay.
Y'all ain't heard about Side Chick Valentine's Day?
Wait a minute.
It's called Steak of the Blowjob. It's the day after. If your man is missing, the day after on the 15th, he's with his side chick.
Hello?
Just let him have it. Just let him have it.
That is a different word.
Let him cheat today, and maybe you cheat tomorrow.
Wait a minute.
I don't know.
Wait a minute.
You know,
Yo,
I'm not saying you
we
should.
need to have a whole series on
It's
this.
a whole series.
We have slid.
We have slid.
into
We've slid.
the third dimension.
It's easy to slide with me. We slid. We did. We
slid
going. We
into
coming back.
alternate
Let's come back.
realities.
Let's come
And
back.
I am
Bring 'em back. Bring 'em
fascinated
back.
to learn,
Oh my
and
God.
we have left the world that I have lived.
Let's
in.
come back. Let's come back.
Wait, but so you feel like that's a very foreign, like a foreign away?
It's a very different paradigm. So I just want to say that the conversation I'd love for you
Yeah.
to follow up on with Ms. Dawn is, was happiness ever also always presently the goal of marriage?
Oh.
Satisfaction, fulfillment, 100%. I am curious as to how that ever was and how it did evolve, because today the idea is each of us should reach 100%. That's a criterion, reference. Out of 100%, you should be able to have 100.
Yep.
Out of that,
Hell.
Right.
You were like hell.
how do you get to 100?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Is that possible?
But I wonder, culturally, it used to be probably a little bit norm referenced.
Okay.
How do you get to a place of compromise, of acceptance, where you get enough and he gets enough, where he gets enough and you get enough, where you get to make a life and you sacrifice the rest? Both of you sacrifice the rest. She's not the most beautiful, or she's not the richest, or she's not the fill in the blank. He's not the tallest, or he's not the thinnest, or he's not the richest, or fill in the blank. But that we've reached our equilibrium. So I'm curious about this idea of equilibrium, which is a balancing, which could or could not have to do with 100%. We can balance out at 40-40.
That's true.
Balance is 10-10. Balance is 60-60.
Right.
All that matters is the balance.
Is it the balance?
Equilibrium is balance. Or the goal is, I'm seeking 100 for myself, and you're seeking 100 for yourself. I am looking for a person to give me 100, and if they can't, I need 3 people, and he feels
Because you're
the same.
like, because 100 is what I'm trying to reach.
100 is what I'm achieving, looking to achieve. So I'm just curious about this whole paradigm, because it's a different one that I have in mind as to what we're trying to achieve, even though, admittedly, my paradigm also has not been achieved. Hello, no spouse, no kids,
I'm
no
not
pets,
laughing at you.
no plants. I'm just saying.
No plans?
No pets, no plants, no spouse, no kids. It's just me and my mom down the block. That's it. But like from a thought perspective, there's conversations to unpack around what we have come to believe is success.
That's right.
In 1900.
Versus.
In 1950.
That's right.
In 2000.
Yeah.
I marked the emergence of
Emergence
the
of the internet.
and all of the things that go with it, and then today. So I'm curious in that evolution.
I think that's going to be a really good, like, rich conversation. I want to sit with that. And I think today, one of the things I want to leave us with is, what does another way look like for you? Right? Because even what you described may not even be the way.
Nope.
And it might be another way. And then, like, I think, all the conversations that we have been having and will continue to have, to me, really boil down to communication and compromise. And not compromise like, in a negative connotation, concession, right? No, but really like thinking through, like, what does it take, I think, to get to happy and not right?
Right.
Which I still struggle with, y'all. That's real.
Right feel good.
Oh, right feels
But maybe
so good.
happy feels better. Maybe.
I'm really happy feels better. Like, I don't, but does happy get you Gucci? I'm sorry, it's different episode. It's all right. It's okay. So y'all, this has been like such a rich conversation to get us started. So as always, I'm curious, what stuck out for you? What do you think are other ways of being in relationships? Can one person give you all of the things you want? To Ashua's question, is that the right aspiration? Is equilibrium the aspiration, or is all the aspiration? And to Danette's, like, just really wise and curious things, can you differentiate the difference between the liquid, glorious, earth-moving feeling of being in love and the action, the verb of loving? And I think that these are some questions that, as we continue to get more seasoned, that we continue to grapple with, right? Like, this is not for the young, but it also is not for the faint of heart. So we'll keep talking about this stuff, girl, okay? We have to come back with the crew and keep talking about it. But I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, and to share this episode with a friend who might be grappling with some stuff too, and get some business. And I will see you again for another episode of A Kish Goodnight.